So for today, we're going to put the color of this white boat, but instead of, it's going to be white, but a toned down white. So we're going to use black, ivory black, or any black, titanium white. So create a gray, make a gray. So the darker, not really dark, but dark enough in here, the better, because this, whatever I'm painting, I'm mixing right now, is going to go, when it's dry, it's going to go darker. So I'm going to go in and create a nice gray. And I have here ultramarine violet. I'm going to take ultramarine violet and put it in this gray. Ultramarine violet is very soft, transparent color, so it doesn't take over. It's really beautiful. So let's go in. And wherever I see white, I'm just going to put this color. And then I will highlight this where I see highlights. I don't even have to worry about openings and windows and stuff like that. It doesn't matter. All of this detail will show when we start highlighting. I take a bit of black. Mix it with my gray, make the gray darker, and add a bit of darker gray at the bottom. There. Okay, so now I'm making my gray lighter by adding white. A little bit more white. And maybe more of the ultramarine. It's a good light gray. And I'm gonna, since we're working with white, I'm going to add the cloth that is hanging up here. We'll do the detail after. This cloth right there. Let's add a bit of black in here because this cloth has a bit of a nice detail, which is dark, a dark shadow in here where the fold is. Like just like that. We will actually work on that detail later on. But for now, it's good. And then
I don't have my masks in yet, but that's okay. I'll put them in later.
yeah. We're just putting this part. We'll just add them later on. I used on mine, I used pencil crayon for now, just to see them. And it actually makes a big difference when you put them in. You see them, you see the whole scene, you know, when you start adding these masks, the fall, it looks completely different. It looks much nicer. Okay, so this is done. There's a bit of white on this, in this boat right here, before we add the brown. It's a nice detail. Where else do we have? We have there's more white, but some of them I really don't like. They're just hanging in a weird position, so I'm not going to put them. I'll put the white in here. There's a bit of white in here, or actually gray, I should say. It's not white, it's gray. What else? This one in the back we did. This one probably is going to be gray. I mean, brown. But you know what? I'll wait for you to do this part because we're going to change to a smaller brush, round, and we're going to start putting some detail on the back. Oh, these. Okay, it's done. There's a bit of white on this one here before I brush my wash my brushes. I like this gray. It looks like silver. It's really nice. Okay. Before we do anything, we're going to highlight this boat, the one in here, because we highlighted this. I'm just going to highlight the rest of this boat. But before I do anything, I did a bit of darker gray for the detail, because I think this is a nice detail right here. We can, it's not going to be, we're not going to do exactly the same, but a bit of that detail. So I just used darker gray and I just placed the lines so I can highlight in between. So all the lines are here. What I'm going to do is take white, put it in my, let's do this because this is really right now. Sorry, I'm trying to make sure that this is not too bright, but I can't control the light in here. Okay, so I added more white, but not too much. Okay, because we want to highlight slowly. You'll see in a minute that white is too strong. So when you start adding white, I would add white slowly. Okay, change my brush into a smaller brush. And I'm gonna have a look here and see how white it looks. It's not that white. It's not okay. So let's do this. Side goes down, and I'm avoiding a bit. I'm painting around where the dark line is that I put initially. And then go down here. This is going to dry darker. So once it dries darker, I can assess and see if I want to highlight it more or darken it. Okay, this is going to be like that. I always work with highlights slowly. It's better to highlight slowly than to highlight to put too much white, and then it's hard to adjust. See this in between, this is too strong. I'll soften it in a minute. It's just because acrylic dries darker, so I have no control over that. Now, this part of the boat is slightly smaller, so I'm just going to take a bit of black, put it in that white, lighter, not white, lighter gray. And this is a good, it's always when you work with the whites, it's a good exercise for value scale. Okay, all the way down to here. And actually at the bottom, it's darker at the bottom. So I'm going to take more black into my gray and darken this part. Let's put a bit of purple in there as well. And now, because it's now the paint is wet, I'm going to go back, pick up some light gray and mix. Okay, now I can take a little bit more white and put it in the gray. Highlight my gray a bit. Wipe my brush. Come here. Oh, too much. So let's bring it down. Lighter, the upper part is usually lighter than the bottom part. So once I get to the bottom part, I'm going to grab some black and mix it with the gray and just darken. It's unbelievable how acrylic dries darker. Keep this in the back darker. This part in the back, keep it darker. And then just kind of blend a bit. Not much, just a bit. Now, I'm going to take more white. Add it to my gray. Highlight a bit this part. And again, this part here. Now, those dark lines in there, I should do them in a darker gray at this point. Just add more, just a soft dark gray. It's going to dry darker. Whatever I do in here is going to dry darker. So I'm going to go in and just put that dark gray in here. And I will wait for it to dry and see if I need to go lighter, I will do lighter. But right now, I just want to, or darker, should say, if I need to go darker. The whole time I go back and forth and adjust the values. Okay, now let's go in again, go to darker gray, and really down here needs to be, we need to put the same detail kind of. I like to wiggle my lines in here in the water and soften them a bit. In the reference, you can see exact detail of the boat reflected in the water. We're not going to do that. There's no need. This is enough. Let's go back. I cleaned my brush. I'm going to go back and highlight a bit of that top part because we have the paint, so might as well use the paint. Darken a bit, darken a bit. All of this using black and ultramarine violet, just a bit. I will put the detail after. Gonna take more black, ultramarine violet, mix them, and let's put some soft detail of an opening. So instead of putting black in there, I know it looks black, it looks dark, but we don't need to. We don't need to put that dark, you know, dark, the bigger the detail, the less of the black or the dark we're going to put in there. Okay, so just to give us an idea, like a little bit of a, all right, this is good. And let's take now some highlight, some white. Dip my brush in water and make the color kind of more transparent, and put a highlight over here on top. Another one. Okay, another one that comes from here. Goes like that. Honestly, these are just little things that makes it look more interesting as far as detail. They don't mean anything. They're just pieces or lines going across. I'm going to stop for now, and then we'll do the these two parts. All right, let's highlight the cloth part in here on top. Easy. We're going to make it really easy. Add white, a bit white, bit of more white to the gray we have here. And the round brush, just kind of make a movement with the highlight that looks like the fabric is gathered. This is not the focal point, so we don't want to spend too much time on that and detail. It's up to you if you want to, you know, add more detail, work on it a lot, you know, a bit more, and just for me, just showing a bit of folds of the fabric is enough. This one, the second one, start from the top, go straight. And I'm making my lines wiggly a bit on purpose. Like that. And really, I'm gonna pause for a minute. Okay, so this is dry now. I'm gonna highlight it a tiny bit more, top part only. So somewhere here, just a bit, just kind of like you're sketching, really, nothing. Don't make it look perfect. Here we go, just like that. And this one too, a little bit more in here. And we'll put some, I think that has cables to hold the fabric. And then if I find that I added too much white, I'll go back and I add, soften all this with some grays. That looks too light, too white on the monitor. It's not that light. It's a bit more gray than this, than what you see on the monitor. Don't forget that we're going to put too many, lines in front of this, the masts and the lines coming more detail in front of it. So that's why I'm saying don't put too much to work on it too much. Here we go. Okay, now one more. Let's take some lighter gray and just get this part here. Actually, I have a bit of burnt umber in here. I'm just going to add the burnt umber to my gray. Touch of burnt umber to my gray in here. And I'm going to highlight this with the burnt umber in gray here. All right. I'll give you time to do this, and then we'll work on the one in the back. For the one in the back, we're going to need burnt umber. Okay, I'm going to highlight, adding more white to gray, the boat in the center, in the middle, that white boat in here, light. I'm going to highlight it a bit and add a little bit of detail on it. I know I'm putting stuff that's not there, but that's okay. Let's take a bit of darker gray by pulling in some black into the gray and maybe brown, just a bit of brown in there. And there's something behind it, and I don't care what it is. It doesn't matter. I'm just going to fill that gap in there.
Mhm.
And let's take a tiny bit of more gray, burnt umber, and just put that in here. Honestly, it doesn't matter what it looks like. This is just the back. I'm gonna add a tiny bit of black into my burnt umber. There's so much happening in there, so many little details. And take a bit of gray and then just kind of add lines and dots, and just to make it look like something's going on in there. This brown I'm using, it's burnt umber, and I'm adding a bit of black in it. It will change it a bit and make it darker, which is great. I don't want this one in the back to look too light. And I want to push it in. And just push this detail of the wood on this boat. A nice kind of movement in here. And now I'm going to take some gray, put it in my brown, and give this part some detail. Again, a bit of more gray. Let's take some of that gray and then add a bit of detail of railing. In the back. Again, this is whatever I see a stretch of dark, which doesn't look like anything specific. I'm going to add a bit of detail to this, just a tiny bit to cut that dark paint in there, just kind of there. Now, this one here needs to be highlighted. And actually, personally, I don't like this opening. I'm going to make it smaller. And I'm just going to take it in like that. So the reason I'm highlighting this, just to push it forward from the back, what's happening in the back in here. So I'm going to push it forward, and I'm just going to kind of, again, keep it simple. Make the windows smaller. With this boat, the white one, I'm going to take burnt umber. This burnt umber is mixed with a bit of gray. And just to cut that white in here. That will warm it up a bit. I'm gonna put gray, burnt umber in here. Mixed with gray. Let's do the same somewhere here too. Too much white. Okay. It's drying on me. The paint. Okay. Let's take a bit of that gray. Burnt umber. It's not gray, it's burnt umber. Hey, there. Should clean up the paint that I have here. Some brown at the bottom. Okay. Now, same. I'm going to take some brown, mix it with a bit of, maybe a little bit of black. Yeah, just make it, put some water in there. So make it more like a glaze. And let's glaze the bottom part of this boat. Because that's the reflection of the brown underneath. And in between, I'm just going to take a bit of black. My brush has water on it, and I'm just going to add that black kind of in between the boat and the water. All right. Okay. I'm using an acrylic pen. It's acrylics, and it's W, one for all, brown. I have here hazelnut brown. And what I'm doing is, this is what I did with this one here, right there, this mast. So I'm taking a ruler. Put it here. Draw a line. It could be like that. And then another one right here, slightly larger at the bottom and tapers to a small. Then what I do is without a ruler, I just fill it with the color.
Yeah.
Much easier. We can paint over that too, if we want, with acrylics, because it is acrylic, so we can paint over it. Much easier. Even even those, like the lines here are fine lines. We can use there. It comes in different colors. It comes in gray, it comes in black, it comes in different colors. So it's much easier when we get to this part to use one of these. I have them in white and brown. I don't think I have them in gray, but anything that has, for the gray part, anything that has a gray or brown or black, white, it doesn't matter. For the thin ones, because we don't want to do them all in brown. So we'll have some in brown, some in maybe white. See, there are some in here in white, which are really nice. And some are most of them are in brown. Most of them. I think we're good for this week. We'll continue next week. This is the stage we're at for this week. Next week, we'll continue working on the boats and the details.